opening round of the 2002 World 250cc Motocross Championship brings us to the Euro circuit of Valkenswaard near Eindhoven in the southern part of Holland. The circuit has traditionally opened the World Championships now for the past decade. 1,750 metres of rough, choppy sand, rutted out, demanding and very, very difficult. The man who lost the World Championship in 2001, Frédéric Bollé of France, he sets fastest time in training with his new Rinaldi Yamaha team, ahead of the defending champion Mikael Pichon, riding of course for the Suzuki Grand Prix team of Sylvain Gabors. The two Frenchmen then looking prepared to go head-to-head once more. Mikael Pichon was the man who did it in style in 2001. Mikael Pichon, 2001 World 250 champion. But what about James Dobb, the 30-year-old Brit who won the 2001 125cc World Championship like this? He is competing in the 250s this time round. World 125 champion James Dobb brings a full factory 250cc KTM into the 250cc World Championships for the first time in a long time, alongside Ulsterman Gordon Crockard, the reigning British Open champion. But initially, the story is about those two Frenchmen, number 1 Mikael Pichon and number 7 after a torrid year in 2001, Frédéric Bollé on the Rinaldi Yamaha. And it's Bollé who makes pole position count. He gets away at the front with the Frenchman on the Suzuki close behind. Also the Hondas of Pit Beirer and Josh Coppins are in the pursuing bunch. Teammates of course with Bernie Vismara Honda. The Frenchman though first and second, and James Dobb also making a terrific start and leaping through into 4th place as Colin Dugmore, the veteran 34-year-old South African on the Millennium KTM, crashes out on the first lap. Frédéric Bollé at the front, world champion of 1999 and 2000, but he won those titles on Honda. Can he make a comeback on Yamaha? He leads the way, behind him Mikael Pichon. 3rd, Josh Coppins. 4th, James Dobb. 5th, Paul Cooper, former British Open champion, now riding for CAS Honda, ahead of Pit Beirer. Carl Nunn making a good start in 10th place on his Husqvarna, but a poor start for Gordon Crockard, down outside the top 15 on the 2nd of the factory KTMs, and Jason Higgs in 20th place on the Dixon's UK Yamaha. Dobb in 3rd place. He says he's going to be a challenger here in the 250cc Grand Prix Series, and already he's hanging in there with the two French world champions ahead of him. The Euro circuit here at Valkenswaard has been used since 1992 for world championships, as we see Damien Denil, something of a Belgian, also ran, finding himself in trouble here in this deep and choppy sand. Valkenswaard from 1992 has been the regular season opener for the 250cc Grand Prix Series. Mikael Pichon taking a quick glance over his right shoulder to see his fellow world champion James Dobb right there behind him. So 3 world champs at the front. Bollé, former 250 champion, leads Pichon, the reigning 250 champion, and James Dobb, the reigning 125 king. These short, sharp drops and climbs, very, very testing in this sand, and Pichon once again taking a quick glance over his right shoulder to see if he's managed to break away yet. But Dobb's right there. Pichon, his tactics tend to be to make the early break, but right now he's letting the pace be set by Frédéric Bollé. He knows he's got 35 minutes plus 2 laps to overhaul his compatriot. 3 laps gone. Bollé, Pichon and Dobb are breaking clear at the front. Pit Beirer The wild and ragged German in 4th place has got past his teammate Josh Coppins. Cooperman has been pushed down into 6th place ahead of his CAS Honda teammate Jussi Vehviläinen. Carl Nunn still there in 10th. Gordon Crockard having progressed just a couple of places to 15th. And ahead of him, Yoshi Atsuta, the little Japanese reigning champion who's come over to try Grand Prix for the first time with the British-based CAS Honda team. This is the action at the front. Dobb, who returned from the States in 1997 after spending 4 years in exile. His best placing a 2nd place in a US 125 Supercross Series. He's there in 3rd place. That's Pit Beirer pursuing him hard and hitting everything hard, as Pit Beirer always does. Why else do we call him the Pitbull? First made a name for himself way back in 1989 in the 125cc Motocross Grand Prix. Eventually finishing 5th in that series in 1994 with Suzuki, before moving into the 250s World Championships in 1995 and immediately finishing 5th. His battle with this man, Frederick Bolle, a truly memorable one in 1999. Any one of them could have been world champion right until the bitter end, but it took a muddy day in Geildorf in Germany to hand the advantage to Fred Bolle, and he duly took his first world championship. Pichon in pursuit, matching Fred Bolle's lap times. Has he got something in reserve? We got used to Pichon in 2001 somehow just having that little bit of a comfort zone and being able to increase the pressure when he needed to. James Dobb, he rarely had to increase the pressure when he needed to because he just completely dominated that 125 series, but suddenly Beirer is with him. Beirer on lap 6, the Vismara Honda has almost caught the factory KTM of James Dobb. Dobb, a different man since he joined KTM under the tutelage of Kurt Nickel, former 4 times World 500 runner-up. And look at the way he's scrapping now with Pit Beirer. So Dobb, 30-year-old from Ripley in Derbyshire, full on with Pit Beirer from southern Germany. Who's going to get the better of this one? Beirer hits the roll-ons while he's up there in mid-air, because he's the one who's getting a face full of roost at the moment. He could do with getting past at the 3rd place. This Euro Circuit offering plenty of lines for the guys to take. You'll notice Beirer way over on the right, Dobb looking to the sharp left. Beirer looking for those different lines because it means that he can see something other than Dobb's roost in this violent deep sand here at Valkenswaard, which has caught out Yoshi Atsuta, and an awful start to the Grand Prix career of the 24-year-old Japanese champion. He goes down and breaks a thigh, which will keep him out of racing, actually only for 3 months. He's that tough. He got back into racing within 3 months, but Yoshi Atsuta making the worst possible start to his Grand Prix career. So the resilient Japanese rider goes down, the yellow flags go out, and the leaders have to find a way round him. Pit Beirer has taken advantage of that momentary lapse in James Dobb's concentration, and he breaks through into 3rd place. So Beirer now through into 3rd place. That number 5 on his back indicates that last year was the first year for several seasons that he dropped out of the top 3 in the World 250 Championship. Dobb taking a stylish look over his shoulder in mid-air, but really he needs to be concentrated on what's ahead of him and whether he can find a way back past Pit Beirer. Beirer now in 3rd place, Dobb 4th. And Fred Bolle still in the lead on the Rinaldi Yamaha. The team, of course, owned by Michele Rinaldi, the 1984 125cc World Motocross Champion. The team manager is his kid brother Carlo. Nine minutes plus 2 laps remaining, and Fred Bolle, Bolle almost cases the leap over the right-hand side, and that's the moment that Mikael Pichon has been waiting for. Just that slight mistake by Frederick Bolle, and Pichon takes charge. Just under 9 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. Frank Schroyen, as ever, Pichon's mechanic, completely indefatigable, no sign of a change in his facial expression. As Pichon and Bolle hit the lappers. Is there anything that Fred Bolle can do to get back? And he didn't make it past quick enough. And that's the risk, of course, when the back markers are there, you've got to get past them quickly. And Fred Bolle getting held up and losing vital ground. Once he gets away past, it might be too late. First he tries to go around the outside, then he cuts around the inside. Finally, the back marker realises he's there, but the damage is perhaps done. He looks around again thinking, are there any more of them? But no, these guys have burst well clear of the field. First and second well clear. Pichon, though, is now the leader. So easy to make just the smallest of mistakes in these grueling conditions. Here's James Dobb. He's now fourth, and he's feeling a bit of heat now from the second Vismara Honda, Josh Coppins. The Lizard, the New Zealander. He's in fifth place and closing the gap, but there's just 2 laps left for Jamie Dobb to hang on now. And Coppins getting a bit offline there. He didn't want to be that far out to the left. Josh Coppins trying to get to grips with James Dobb. And once again, a back marker for James Dobb to contend with. Can Josh Coppins close that gap? Dobb looks for a way past the Yamaha and finds it very, very quickly on that orange KTM. So the reigning 125 world champion currently in 4th place in the first 250cc Grand Prix that he's competed in since 1992, before he went off to the States. The last lap for Mikael Pichon. The Frenchman they call Le Rocket looks as if he's going to keep his terrific record going in 250cc Grand Prix, carry on in 2002, where he left off in 2001 with a dominating opening race. And that the triumphant hand signal of a man who knows he's got it all done after 21 laps of the Euro circuit at Valkenswaard. Mikael Pichon, the defending champion, takes the race win ahead of the deposed champion of 2001, Frederick Bolle. Mikael Pichon having extended his lead. Bolle crosses the line now, number 7 in 2nd place, but it's a good start for Frederick to the championship series. The 26-year-old Mikael Pichon sets off on a well-deserved lap of honour. 10 times a champion of France, already a world champion, and of course don't forget twice a 125cc Supercross champ in the States. Pitbyra crosses the line in 3rd, Dobb 4th, 5th Josh Coppins, and 6th Jussi Vehviläinen, the 24-year-old Finn riding for the British CAS Honda team. James Dobb comes in to report to his team what's been going on. This man's got nothing to report but the fact that he's beaten them all out of sight, eventually with a 12-second advantage over Fred Bolle. Paul Cooper 7th, Kenneth Gunderson on the Motor X Kawasaki in 8th place. Mikael Pichon tops the rostrum, the first rostrum of 2002. Frederick Bolle, could they be restarting their battle of the year 2000?
Mikael, it seems to be a similar season as 2001 because you won the opening round, but this time Bolle was leading most of the race. Was it a tactic to wait behind him?
Well, yeah, because I was very tight. I didn't sleep very good. It's the first time I go with the number 1 plate, and it was pretty difficult, and I knew Frederick was in good shape. And the track is not so rough, and I was waiting more to the end when it would get more rough, and I saw Frederick making a couple mistakes towards the middle of the race, and I just then decided to push a little bit more, and then he make maybe 3 or 4 mistakes in the same laps, and that was more than I needed to pass him, and it was really a perfect race. And I want to thank the Suzuki team because it was a very tough winter, and we worked really hard. It's always difficult to come back with the number 1, and to win the first round, it feels really good and confident for the future.
The second round of the World Championship brings us to Belpig in the north of Spain. The Telefónica Movistar Grand Prix of Spain, the Circuit de Catalunya, up near Barcelona. hard-packed circuit of Belpig, 1,630 metres long, began hosting the Spanish Grand Prix in the new millennium. Miguel Pichon leads the World Championship then with 25 points, 22 points for the second place Frederic Bolle on his Rinaldi Yamaha. And in third place, number 5, Pit Beirer, 20 points to his name on the Vismara Honda. On board camera with Josh Coppins, the New Zealander who rides in the same team as Pit Beirer for the Telefonica Movistar Grand Prix of Spain here at the Circuit of Catalunya. Number 73 is the former 125cc triple world champion Kiko Chiodi on his Yamaha, his Chesterfield Yamaha, as we head into the first turn now with Josh Coppins. That's what it looks like. Frightening. Coppins looks to have got the whole shot. He's clear away at the front on number 6, but alongside him is danger man Miguel Pichon, and Pichon carves a perfect elliptical arc right round the outside to take the lead. There's a couple of less fortunate men, including number 5, Pit Beirer, go down, and number 3, Gordon Crockard. Gordon Crockard, the Ulster star and reigning British Open champion on that factory KTM, and Pit Beirer both go down together, and it was Beirer who got well and truly sideways. Colin Dugmore managed to miss the melee, but it caught out Gordon Crockard. The Croc star had nowhere to go and hit the deck. So Pit Beirer and Gordon Crockard will have a huge amount of work to do, particularly unfortunate for the Croc star because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Miguel Pichon, absolutely in the right place at the right time. He takes the lead on the Grand Prix Team Suzuki. And already looking so relaxed, glancing for a long time over his right shoulder, just checking out the state of the opposition, looking really cool, sublimely in control. Pichon leads, James Dobbs second on the second KTM, Fred Bolle in third place, Coppins fourth, Paul Cooper on Cass Honda is fifth, and the 20-year-old Norwegian Kenneth Gundersen on the Motorex Kawasaki in sixth place. Andrew McFarlane, his teammate, is 10th ahead of Johnny Aubert on the Kazali Kurtz Yamaha. And you may have noticed the name of Mark Eastwood down there in 16th place, now earning a living, the veteran Englishman, racing full-time in Spain and having a one-off outing here at the Grand Prix, a former regular Grand Prix rider during the 1990s. There's Paul Cooper, number 16, in a battle with Kiko Chiodi, that former World 125 champion, number 73. Paul Cooper, 30 years old now, originally out of Cape Town in South Africa. Won the British 125cc championship for Yamaha 10 years ago and the British Open championship in 1995. So he's in a battle with Chiodi and Kenneth Gundersen. Just ahead of him, Josh Coppins. Just behind them, Jussi Veiväläinen on the second of the Cass Hondas. Wild Spanish teenager Manuel Rivas, who, excited in front of his home crowd, gets it all wrong and takes a huge tumble. Brave boy gets back up, looks for the bike. It's amazing what it can do for you when you're in front of your home crowd, riding in your home Grand Prix. Manuel Rivas amazingly gets back on board. Miguel Pichon, no danger of him being off it. He's in cool control at the front and looking as if he might be headed under very different conditions for his second successive Grand Prix. Look at that, that was the power slide of a confident man, and the French flags are waving for him alongside the circuit. And already the gap extending to over 5 seconds to second man James Dobb. But Dobber looking good. He was fourth in the first race at the Euro circuit, and he's proving that he can really live with the 250cc Grand Prix boys, as we might have expected. He won a race at the Austrian 250 Grand Prix for Kawasaki back in 1992. 10 years on, we should know that he'd still have that sort of speed, especially after the amount of experience that's gone underneath his belt in that time. Number 7, Frederic Bolle in second place on the Rinaldi Yamaha, but Gordon Crockard, Dobbs' KTM factory teammate, is out of the race with damage to his motorcycle. Nick Moore looking to see what the problem is as Frederic Bolle goes down. Fred Bolle goes down on the Rinaldi Yamaha, desperately trying to restart with that awkward right-hand side kickstart, shakes his head, clear a bit of muck out of his goggles and confusion out of his brain. And this is what happened to, and a heavy landing that dismounted him side saddle, so Bolle, not such a heavy crash, but an awkward one. And it's really put him down and detuned him. Carlo Rinaldi thinking, that's not what we wanted. Pichon getting tremendous airtime on these superb downhill jumps here at Belpeague. And beginning to look as if he's really enjoying himself at the front. He's got a big advantage over Josh Coppins. On board with the New Zealander. Coppins on the Honda, his teammate Pit Byra battling his way through from the back of the pack. So Coppins will have the advantage this time out. Paul Cooper, the 30-year-old South African who rode his first 250 Grand Prix at Valkenswaard back in 1992, up to 4th place here on the CAS Honda. He missed most of last season, of course, with a severe knee injury, underwent surgery and has recuperated fully during the winter. So a good 4th place for Paul Cooper. And a spectacular 1st place in the offing for this man, Mikael Pichon. Looking as if he's really having fun out there on his Suzuki. He leads handsomely. The reigning 250cc World Motocross champion. All Spanish eyes are on him. Pichon, of course, was a 125cc Grand Prix runner back in the early 1990s as a teenager. And here's a man who was a top 125 Grand Prix rider who 3 times won the World Championship. Number 73, Kiko Chiodi, the tiny little bearded Italian, is now really pressuring 4th place Paul Cooper. Chiodi, who's never really got to grips with a 250. After he narrowly lost the 1994 125cc World Championship to the American Bob Moore. He went on to 250s but couldn't really get the hang of the Chesterfield Yamaha. As we move on to a battle between James Dobb and Josh Coppins now for 2nd place. Dobb trying to run across the lines of that Vismara Bernie Honda of Coppins. Trying to make the Honda go where it doesn't want to go. Dobb versus Coppins then. This is the battle for 2nd place. 19 seconds behind Pichon. Pichon doesn't matter after 14 laps. This is the battle for points. And Kiko Chiodi has gone through into 4th place. He's fought his way past Paul Cooper. So Alessio Kiko Chiodi gets himself through into 4th place as Josh Coppins gets himself in a mess. Coppins with that camera mounted on his helmet, gets himself out of shape and loses a place to Chiodi as he does. Fabulous circuit here. Look at the view from up there on the rooftops. Josh Coppins recovers his composure and once again begins to tackle Chiodi. Cooperman staying in touch with the two of them. Meanwhile, Jussi Vehviläinen and Fredrik Bolle are going at it for 7th place. Rinaldi still shaking his head, hasn't got over the first mistake yet, but Bolle is back on the case with the Yamaha, chasing down the Finn as James Dobb once again finds Josh Coppins beginning to put pressure on. Dobb number 64, Coppins number 6, goes for the outside line, then tries to tuck inside. And with the back markers as well, it's a fairly confused situation out there. Dobb, Coppins, this the battle for 2nd place behind Mikael Pichon. The KTM squad getting lustily behind their man. And James Dobb, always a great stylist on a motorcycle, looks superb on that KTM. He's a tall man, 6 feet 2 inches. Possibly better suited to the 250 than to a 125. But the Lizard is finding slightly tighter lines round here. He's really laying that Honda into the turns. Oh, but there's a hay bale gets right underneath the front wheel of that Bernie Honda and it puts Coppins down. How cruel is that? That was the view he got of the bail after he'd hit it, which was just a little bit too late. That, of course, benefits Paul Cooper, it benefits Kenneth Gunderson, it almost benefits Frederick Bolle, but I think Coppins has got back on board just ahead of the Frenchman. Bolle comes alongside. Coppins, recovering remarkably quickly, says there's no way through, but Bolle says, I'll have that line, and just takes it right from under the Honda's front wheel. Bolle not looking that comfortable in these ruts, not looking like the Fred Bolle of a couple of years ago when he was winning World Championships for Honda. So some rousing racing going on for the championship points behind runaway leader Mikael Pichon here at Belle Peak. Kenneth Gunderson, Fred Bolle, Josh Coppins. This is Coppins. This is the fight now for 5th place. Fred Bolle immediately proving me wrong and getting right on the case and right on the back wheel of the Norwegian's Motor X Kawasaki. And Paul Cooper's going to be under threat from these guys any minute now. Fred Bolle goes right, feigns right and then dives left. A brilliant move, gets right underneath the Motor X Kawasaki. And with 2 laps to go, he snatches that 5th place. Paul Cooper's his next target. This is turning into a great comeback ride by Bolle after that mistake he made when he was lying in 2nd place. The board prepares to go out. I don't think Bolle needs telling that he's got the 4th place man right there in his sights. Paul Cooper, number 16, Fred Bolle, number 7. Oh, Bolle really leathering that Yamaha, giving it all the stick he possibly can, and trusting that those berms and those ruts will stand up to the hammering that he's giving them. Here he goes, round the outside, way round the outside. Has it worked? He's certainly got the speed on Cooper, and he cuts right across, but he can't quite make the pass stick. And Cooperman blocks his attempt. Oh, no, but that's James Dobbs. James Dobbs in trouble. James Dobbs in trouble. And it looks as if a rock might have smashed something on the KTM and brought it to a halt right there with less than 2 laps to go. What cruel justice for the reigning 125cc world champ. So Dobb is out as number 7 Fred Bolle gets past Paul Cooper in the general confusion, and that will put him up into 3rd place. And fortune frowning there on Jamie Dobb. This man, Kiko Chiodi, is now guaranteed 2nd place in the race if he stays on board for the last lap. And what a surprise that is from the little Italian star. On his last lap then, Pichon leads, Kiko Chiodi on the Chesterfield Yamaha through to 2nd place. While all around him have had all sorts of incidents in their race, Chiodi has just kept battling on, and everything's gone smoothly for him. But the stricken KTM is brought back to the pits, and what a bad day for Kurt Nichols' team. Both Crockard and Dobb go out. Mikael Pichon at the front, he knows he's out of trouble, out of everybody's way. He wheelies across the line for his 2nd successive victory in the 2002 World Motocross Championship. And a surprise 2nd place for little Alessio Chiodi and his Chesterfield Yamaha. May not be the greatest colour scheme in the world, but it's worked for him today. Meanwhile, the battle goes on right to the flag for the places. Josh Coppins trying to get back past Kenneth Gunderson, but can't quite make it behind Frederick Bolle on Yamaha number 7. And Jussi Vehviläinen, number 8, was also there in the fray. So Bolle takes 3rd place ahead of Gunderson, Coppins and Paul Cooper, who at one time was running strongly in 4th. Behind them, Jussi Vehviläinen, Paul Cooper's teammate, ahead of the Kurt Cazzoli Yamaha of Johnny Aubert, the Frenchman. 3 Frenchmen then in the top 8. And that's with possibly their finest riders competing in the States. Mikael Pichon leads the championship ahead of Fred Bolle and Pit Beirer, who's level on points with his teammate Josh Coppins. Teufenthal first hosted a 250cc Grand Prix back in 1996 when it was won by Suzuki's Marnik Vervolz, who would bet against a hat-trick for Suzuki happening right here. The winner of the first two rounds, Mikael Pichon. The man lying second to him in the championship, number 7, Frederick Bolle. Pichon is definitely the man in form. Once again, Frederick Bolle, brave to the last, lines up alongside the fastest man on the track, because he wants to be that fella. Heads down, gate drops, and they're off for the European Grand Prix, the third round of the 2002 World 250 Motocross Championships. Oh, and it's bedlam in the first turn, and the first man to go down looked like Mikael Pichon. Carl Nunn, number 13, is trying to get over the top of Pichon, and Pichon angrily pushes the Husqvarna over as Carl Nunn tries to ride off. So absolute bedlam, and Frederick Bolle, unluckily one of the men taken down as well, and that's a penalty you pay for starting alongside Pichon when he makes a mistake like that. Pichon goes hard into the first turn, loses the front end as they go over that bump and drop into that turn, and the first man he takes out is the man right outside him, number 7, Frederick Bolle. And Carl Nunn is the other big sufferer there. Look at the state of play here. That's really very, very nasty. It's a relief that no one is particularly damaged in that mess. And Mathieu Laloz, number 70, the Frenchman, was one of the fellas taken down by the mistake that Mikael Pichon made. So now we know Pichon can make mistakes. It hasn't happened yet this year. It has happened now. And now a rather fetching black outfit for James Dobb, the reigning 125 champion. He's in the lead, ahead of number 5, Pit Byra, and number 67, Kenneth Gunderson on the Motor X Kawasaki. And behind Gunderson, the battle is on. Paul Cooper's in there, Josh Coppins is in there. But Dobb said that once he started winning on a 250, he would keep winning on a 250. Could this be the day that he begins? James Dobb leads. He likes these sort of conditions, tacky, plenty of grip. The weather's been pretty damp here in Germany over the weekend. I'm not going to say entirely English conditions, but some people might unkindly refer to them as being. This is Mikael Pichon. He's right at the back of the pack with a huge amount of work to do. For once, we're going to see that world champion really earning his spurs. He's got to come right from the back of the field, and just ahead of him, his first target is a mud-caked Frederick Bolle, the man he wiped out in the first turn. Damien Daniel, number 44, is the first man they come up on. And I don't think the Belgian will be there in front of them for very long. Dobb leads. Gunderson is through into second place ahead of Pit Byra, Jussi Väiväläinen, Josh Coppins and Paul Cooper, 4th, 5th and 6th. Gordon Crockard, a decent start at last, ahead of Johnny Aubert and Andrew McFarlane. Mark Eastwood in 12th place. He did so well in Spain that they invited him to come and compete in Germany as well. Jason Higgs in 16th place. Justin Morris, his teammate, back in 22nd. The almost white blonde-haired Kenneth Gunderson from Oslo in Norway, who moved from the 125cc class with JB Dobb, of course, at the end of 2001. Looking potentially dangerous here in this race, and already Mikael Pichon, number 1, has got the better of Fred Bolle, number 7, in their race through the pack. Pichon gobbling up places during the early laps, but of course, the nearer you get to the front, the harder it becomes to make ground on the riders immediately in front of you. And the next one in front of him, of course, is the former 3-time 125 world champion, Kiko Chiodi. Not having quite the same amount of fun as he had when he finished second at Belpig. Number 73, Chiodi, number 1, Pichon. Oh, Pichon all over the place, making use of that ability to find the lines as Kenneth Gunderson gets right onto the tail of James Dobb at the front. So I thought that Dobb might just like these conditions enough to pull away, but that gritty young Norwegian is right with him. Kenneth Gunderson, number 67. Just 20 years old against the 30-year-old Derbyshire veteran James Dobb. Gunderson, who rode his first Grand Prix at Lierop in Holland, the 125cc Grand Prix of 1997, So already into his 6th season on Grand Prix. And Frederick Bolle in trouble. Bolle is in trouble. He's never especially liked the mud. Somehow he's got away with it in recent years. But finally it looks like it's beginning to catch him out, and he lost the front end all on his own as he went up onto that slight camber into the left-hander, up the hill. The front end went light and Bolle went down. So once again, the former double world champion with a lot of work to do on his Rinaldi Yamaha. Unlucky in the first turn though. He may have had the whole shot if he hadn't got wiped out by Mikael Pichon. Look at this, the battle for the lead. At last it's really happening. Without Pichon at the front, Gundersen's brave enough to go for it. Dobb just rides him straight to the outside, and Kenneth had nowhere to go but oblivion then, so he had to back off. But Gundersen's a brave boy, full of youthful impetuosity. He's going to get round that KTM somehow, and he does it the long way round brilliantly. And that Jan de Groot tuned Kawasaki has all the speed it needs to get away round the outside and take the lead. So Kenneth Gundersen is in the lead for the first time in a 250cc Grand Prix. Can the boy from Oslo hold on to it as we see Colin Geek Dugmore in trouble with the Millennium KTM? Meanwhile, Dobb attacks side by side with Kenneth Gundersen. Grand Prix motocross at its best. Oh, and Dobb with a wicked block pass on Kenneth Gundersen absolutely stopped the Kawasaki dead in its tracks and retakes the advantage. This is Mikael Pichon. We usually see him riding as if he owns the track, but in that case it was James Dobb doing the very same thing. Pichon not so much in amongst the back markers now, is beginning to find himself in amongst some of the quicker men, but still making progress on that Suzuki, that distinctive yellow and blue Suzuki. And we've got another faller. It may be Damien Daniel who's gone down. Looked like it might have been the bulky little Belgian. Mikael Pichon, despite riding absolutely on the limit, making no mistakes, but Frederick Bolle, we thought he was going to be his greatest champion. He's called back in for fresh goggles because he's been down again. Oh, Frederick. Fred, look at that. Looking at his hands as if to say, what am I supposed to do in these conditions? Well, everybody else is staying on board, or most of them are, Fred, so I'm afraid you can't entirely blame the track. Dobb leads. 7 laps in, Gundersen and Beira second and third ahead of Cooper and Vivalainen. So Paul Cooper once again having a cracking ride and Frederick Bolle having a nightmare. 26th place. Well, they've opened the points right down to 20th place this year, but even that's not enough for Fred Bolle to be in the points at the moment. Well, Mikael Pichon, he's well into the points. 11th place now for the fiery Frenchman, ahead of number 14, the TM of Marko Kovalainen, the Finn. At the front, Dobb leads. Gundersen is second, and Pit Beira is looming in third place. Another man who can get very, very ragged in these conditions, but it's not slowing him down at the moment. And look at his speed on the last lap. Couple of tenths slower than this man Kenneth Gundersen, but he's still right there challenging the Kawasaki. Can Gundersen respond? Gundersen looked strong enough for a win in the earlier stages of this race, but now he's being pressed by Beira. Josh Coppins through into 4th place ahead of Jussi Vehviläinen and Paul Cooper on the Cass Bacon Bite Hondas. Superb setting here at Teutenschal, a class Grand Prix venue. And on home ground, Pit Beira doing everything he can, including almost vaulting himself over the bars to get on terms with Gundersen. Crockart 7th, Johnny Aubert 8th, Andrew McFarlane in 9th place, the Australian who rides for Gundersen's Motorex Kawasaki team. And James Dobb has opened up a bit of a gap at the front. Surely he's secure in first place. Gundersen in second isn't yet. Mikael Pichon has gobbled up another couple of places. He's up to 9th on that number 1 Suzuki. Ahead of him is Johnny Aubert on the Kazali-Kurtz Yamaha. And the fact that it's another Frenchman just might ignite Mikael Pichon's passion even further, as Pit Beirer, always passionate, begins to claw back the advantage on Kenneth Gunderson. And he's really beginning to press hard now, the German who is always so popular in his native land. Into the last lap, James Dobb leads, 18 laps completed. He's got a 1.5 second advantage over Gunderson, who has once again opened out the advantage over Coppins and Pit Beirer. A big mistake from Pit Beirer has pushed him back down to 4th place. He's still clear of Paul Cooper, who's got the better of Jussi Väiväläinen as James Dobb goes down. The race leader has crashed. Kenneth Gunderson takes over the lead and Dobb can't get the bike back up. His team can't believe it. He's back down to 4th place now. Can he get going in time to hang on to that? James Dobb looked as if he had his first Grand Prix win of 2002 in the bag when he lost the front end. As simple as that. And with Kenneth Gunderson pounding out the laps just a second and a half behind him, the Norwegian takes over the lead and a surprise victory, the first 250cc Grand Prix victory of his career. The goggleless Kenneth Gunderson will take the win for Motorex Kawasaki, a win he fought very, very hard for, but looked as if he had lost. And James Dobb, he'd fought hard for that win. He's still ahead of the Cass Honda duo of Jussi Väiväläinen and Paul Cooper. They've been going at it hammer and tongs for the last few laps, but Dobb has managed to remount ahead of them, and Dobb looks as if he's going to hang on to 4th place, but where he really wanted to be was there, taking the win. A surprise, Kenneth Gunderson almost rides into the flagman. He's so astonished to take the win. And 2nd place goes to the New Zealander Josh Coppins. 3rd goes to number 5 Pit Beirer on the rostrum, to a resounding round of applause from the German fans. And 8th place for Mikael Pichon, who caught Kazali-Kurtz's Johnny Aubert on the last lap and salvaged a good hatful of points. Gunderson, Coppins, Beirer, who'd have bet on that? Dobb, Väiväläinen, Cooper, Gordon Crockard 7th, Mikael Pichon a remarkable 8th from the back. And that puts Gunderson up into 2nd place in the championship, 2 points ahead of Josh Coppins, 4 points ahead of Pit Beirer, and Fredrik Bolle suddenly has a battle on his hands. Kenneth Gunderson became the first Norwegian as an 18-year-old to win a moto at a Grand Prix at Foxhill in 1999, takes his first 250 Grand Prix victory. The fabulous hillside circuit of Saint-Jean-d'Angely hosts the 4th round of the World's 250cc Motocross Championship in the motocross mad country of France. Mikael Pichon already leading the championship handsomely with 63 points and has the helmet cam for us here today. 2nd is Pit Beirer, 3rd Josh Coppins, and down in 5th place former world champion Fredrik Bolle. Can he produce the goods on a circuit that first saw a 250cc Grand Prix in 1984 when Heinz Kinnegardner won for KTM on his way to his first world championship? Could KTM do it again? James Dobb and Gordon Crockard are the men to watch on the orange machines from Austria. And this is what's happening from the rear view mirror of Mikhail Pichon, what a good idea. Put a helmet on that points backwards for the man who's almost always in the lead. But in the filthy wet conditions here, he's not quite at the front, and there's been an awful crash right off the start that I think includes Kiko Chiodi on the Chesterfield Yamaha. I think the little Italian star was one of the men down in the glop there. Conditions really horrible here round this very, very fine circuit. In fact, almost as nasty as they were in 1989 when David Thorpe and Jackie Vimon fought a Herculean battle that went right down to the last lap. At the front though, it's Pit Beirer and Mikhail Pichon, and Pichon has instantly fought his way through from that muddied mid-pack and is about to try and take the lead, but he gets shoulder charged almost into the paling fence by a wild Pit Beirer and instantly retaliates by surging past inside the German. And look at those heavy plum grey rain clouds in the background. They've already deposited loads of water on the track. They could yet deposit loads more. This is the view that Pichon would have if he looked round at Pit Beirer chasing him down one of those huge hills here at Saint-Jean d'Angely. Pichon, putting the pressure on as he does in the early laps, will be looking to break away here on his home territory. The man who comes from a village just outside Le Mans to the south of Paris. Oh, Pit Beirer gets a really dreadful landing, a savage sideways landing, and is almost passed by Carl Nunn, the 23-year-old boy from Suffolk, number 13, on the SoCal Husqvarna. Carl Nunn is there in third place. Come on, Nunny. A terrific start. A lad, of course, who won his first Grand Prix, the French 125, in his 125cc Grand Prix days with Yamaha, and now venturing onto the 250cc scene with Husqvarna. Fourth place, Frederick Bolle. So the leader, Pichon. Second place, a wild Pit Beirer, and you can't afford to be wild in ruts like these. Frank Schroyen, the mustachioed Belgian, gives the board to Mikhail Pichon. The yellow flags are still out because of that first turn crash that took out Kiko Chiodi. Pit Beirer is still there in second place. The Husqvarna of Carl Nunn is third. The Yamaha of Frederick Bolle in fourth. But look at the lead that is being stretched at the moment by Mikhail Pichon, bike number one. Andrew McFarlane has made a good start. The Australian, the 25-year-old Aussie on the Motor X Kawasaki is fifth. Coppin sixth. Cooper seventh. Eighth, James Dobb. Ninth, Kenneth Gunderson. So neither Dobb nor Gordon Crockard making the sort of start that they needed in these conditions. Crockard even worse off in 12th place. Behind the 27-year-old Finn on the Italian TM, Marco Kovalainen. This is the battle going on for the places though, and Pit Beirer has gone down. Well, almost went down, but that strong left leg just about kept him upright as the crowd momentarily cheered. Frederick Bolle through into second place, but suddenly he's gifted it when a cross-rutted Carl Nunn goes down with the Husqvarna. What rotten luck, and what an awful position to have to pick the bike up from. So the 23-year-old looked as if he'd hung on to that place, but he really got it wrong as he took off and was lucky not to be hit by Fred. Fred managed to scythe past cleanly and hold on to that second place, but that's a really nasty, gnarly 50-metre sand section that's been put in recent years at the top of Saint-Jean d'Angely. We're certainly never there in the 1980s.